Hey everyone, Sam Battersby with Griot's Garage, and today I'm going to tell you everything about our industrial epoxy floor coating and how to install it. A painted garage floor has a ton of benefits. It gives your favorite spot in the house a nice finished look and feel, adds value to your home, and makes things much easier to clean and maintain. Overall, it's a huge upgrade and one of the less expensive ways that you can transform your garage space. Our industrial epoxy floor coating makes application easy and is one of the most durable products on the market, so you can enjoy your finished garage for years to come. As with any other painting endeavor, preparation is key to ensure a job well done and a finished product that will last a long time. Before you get started, there are a few supplies that you're going to need to have on hand. A paint mixer drill attachment, a cordless drill, a paint roller handle, a 1/2-inch nap mohair roller or a few, an extension handle, a 2-inch paintbrush for the edges, muriatic acid, a floor grinding machine or a shot blaster, not necessarily all three of those, a handheld grinder with a diamond blade for the edges if you're grinding the floor instead of acid etching, a friend or neighbor to help you out, stiff bristle broom or a floor scrubber, extension cords, a pressure washer, a plastic watering can if you're acid etching, painter's tape, masking plastic, 2 5-gallon mixing buckets, floor squeegee, nitrile gloves, rubber boots, wood stir sticks, and a few optional accessories like spiked shoes, non-slip additive if you want to add it at the end, and a suitable crack filler or sealant if your floor needs cracks filled. A shop vac can also be helpful for vacuuming up dust and debris. To be sure that we covered all of our bases of prep and application, we decided to perform the install on a really old, stained, and beat up slab from a residential home built in the late 90s. We wanted to face any challenges firsthand to give you guys as much information as possible so that you can have a successful install. Step 1 is to test for any existing sealer and moisture or hydrostatic pressure. We weren't worried about sealer since this slab is old, we're going to be grinding it. But we did test for hydrostatic pressure by taping down several square foots of painter's plastic. You want to seal these completely with tape around all 4 sides and leave them for at least 24 hours. Ideally do this on a wet day or during the wet part of the season where the water table is high, so you have a worst case scenario. If after 24 hours you come back and notice any condensation under the plastic, you're going to have to seal your concrete slab prior to proceeding with the epoxy coating. If there's no moisture, then you're good to go to begin the prep process. Then you're going to want to determine how much paint you'll need, so estimate the quantity of product based on the square footage of your garage and which prep process you're using. We're opting for grinding, so we're going to do 3 coats of paint. So we bought almost double just in case it absorbs more. If you're going to be acid etching, you only need 2 coats of paint. We will return any unopened gallons, so make sure you buy plenty extra. Next, you can begin setting out your supplies, getting everything organized. We'll mask off the perimeter, covering about a foot or 2 of drywall up above the foundation here. If you don't have a concrete foundation that comes above the floor, simply mask the drywall down adjacent to the floor surface so that you don't get it wet during the cleaning of the garage floor in between either acid etching or grinding. Then you're ready to go pick up your grinder. If you're going to be grinding the floor, if acid etching, make sure that you have enough acid to get the job done. We rented an 8-inch diamond grinder from our local rental facility. You'll begin by grinding the floor. You want to be very thorough and even during this process. Go nice and slow. We did about 3 full passes over the floor with the grinder and then used a hand angle grinder to cut in some of the edges and more hard to reach areas that we couldn't get to with the floor grinder. We use the water feed during the floor grinding process. However, you can also use dust collection if you want to dry grind. Once you're done and the floor is nice and ground evenly, then it's time to fill any cracks that you might have. We used a polyurea based filler. It's very easy to use and cured up in 24 hours. After curing, cut off any swollen areas of the sealer to make it flush, and then grind the cracks back down to add the same amount of tooth to the cracks as the floor has and make sure everything is even and uniform before you start painting. Next, you want to clean the floor, get off any and all dust. This required several passes with a broom as well as a shop vac to ensure the floor was completely dust free. Next is to mix your epoxy floor coating. So you're gonna pre-mix part A, so pour that into a bucket and mix it all up. Ensure that you scrape the bottom of the pail so that there's no pigment that's settled to the bottom remaining in the container. And then you will add your part B to part A. So pour in the part B as you mix it in, and ensure to again scrape the sides of the part B quart container to get all of that hardener out. As you mix, you're gonna wanna add some water to cut the paint. If you're doing acid etching, you'll reduce with a quart of water. If you're grinding like we are, you're only gonna need to use a half a quart of water. Then you can begin cutting in the perimeter of the floor with your 2-inch brush and small roller, and then start rolling out the entire floor, starting in the far corner, and you're working your way to the other side in one row, and then work your way towards the garage doors. Of course, you don't wanna paint yourself into the garage, so make sure that you keep in mind the passes and order of the directions you're going so that you end up painting yourself out the garage doors and not having to step on any floor paint. Wait 12 to 24 hours before applying the second coat, and here you have the finished product. So you need to wait at least 18 to 24 hours before foot traffic and at least 7 days before storing cars or moving heavy objects back onto the floor. Now that we've shown you the entire process, we want to go over a few things that we would have done differently and some other details to keep in mind. When we rented our floor grinder, we opted for the smaller, less expensive option, thinking that it would be more versatile and nimble in a small garage space. In hindsight, this was a bad decision, and we should have used a larger, more industrial grinder to achieve a faster result and a more even finish. The grinder that we used got the job done, but required multiple passes over the floor, and we probably could have saved a ton of time and ended up with a slightly more consistent ground finish at the end had we gone with a larger unit. The grinder that we rented also didn't have a fully functioning dust collection system. Be sure you have the rental facility show you the dust collection system that it works before you rent the unit. The employee that trained us on the unit at the rental facility advised us that we should use the water feed while grinding because it would preserve the diamond blade disc and prevent any dust. We followed this direction and ended up having a few problems. The slurry that the water feed created made it really hard to see what we were doing on the floor as we grounded. This made it difficult to get an even finish on the first pass. It also made a huge mess that required washing, vacuuming, sweeping, and pressure washing again to remove all of that slurry and dust that was left behind. We had to repeat that cleaning process a few times to get to a completely clean floor. We also repeated grinding the floor 3 times to get to a completely even and sufficient grind. This may have been a little bit excessive, but we wanted to ensure that the finish was super even. If we were to do it again, I would definitely rent a larger grinder with an effective dust collection system and dry grind the floor to prevent any of those problems. Another point worth mentioning is to give yourself ample time if you need to seal cracks prior to painting. This step took a little longer than we expected to fill everything, albeit there were a lot of cracks in this floor, and the crack filler required a minimum 24-hour cure time before it could be leveled and painted. Some products that we looked at required even more time to cure before painting, so be sure you read the directions on whatever product you select for sealing the cracks while you're planning the project. Give yourself ample time for that sealant to cure up before you have to apply your paint. Even with these few learning experiences, the end result turned out great, and this garage floor will hold up for years to come. If you're having any questions or concerns at all about this process, be sure to give us a call and we'll make sure to get you all the information you need and set you straight before you start applying in your own garage. For other information on our industrial epoxy floor coating and how to apply it, please visit griotsgarage.com. And as always, have fun in your garage.